Well, we're going to talk about the wonder of the manger. And it's so good to see all you wonderful people here this morning. Are you full of wonder today? Yes. Praise God. So we have the wonder of manger, and actually a manger, you know, you have to wonder about the whole story when you see something like this. You got my slide there? There's no sound with it. It's a good thing. I have some pictures of a manger. So a manger is basically a feeding trough. I mean, that's really what it was. And we tend to glamorize it, don't we? Yeah. So, I mean, when you see it in these different forms, you know, it's a very simple place. And I also think that at times, we've heard the story so many times that we've lost our sense of wonder about it. So I want to just share with you again the pertinent part of our reading this morning. And there were shepherds who were living out in the fields nearby, watching over their flocks at night. And then the angel of the Lord came to them, and the glory of the Lord shone all around them, and they were terrified. They were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Be not afraid, for I bring you good news of great joy. For unto you on this day, in the town of David, was born unto you a Savior. He will be the Lord, the Messiah. And this will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths, lying in a manger." Let us pray. Loving and gracious God, help us to empty ourselves of all of our thoughts and distractions today, that we may be fully present to your Spirit and be filled once again with the wonder of your gift to us at this season. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Well, let's go to the setting. I know we have our few history buffs here, so I got to talk a little bit about the setting. So they were getting ready. Why were Joseph and Mary heading out of town, going to Bethlehem when she was pregnant? Doesn't make sense, right? But the Romans had all of the power at that time. And so the Romans called for a census. And the census was actually a tool for cultural discrimination. It was a symbol. The census was a symbol of Roman power and the subordination of the people of Israel as a conquered people. And it was meant to also compromise their fidelity to God. Huh? So the census is the reason that Mary and Joseph were traveling during such a precarious time in her pregnancy. And because of the census, it's very likely that there were many visitors, many people who had come to Bethlehem. And so that makes sense that there was very little room anywhere for people to stay. You follow me? Okay. Now, we narrow in the one setting, and they were in Bethlehem, which was also known as the town of David. And Joseph was a descendant of David. And with that lineage and the norms of Middle Eastern hospitality, it's almost unthinkable that a descendant of David would be turned away. Follow me? Okay. Most likely, it was the home of a relative where they stayed. And very few people in that time were able to actually afford a separate place for their animals. And so it was most likely also a one kind of room, one house. And in the house was room where they put the animals. They brought them in at night. So it was very, very different often than what we think. So then it was into this humble setting that love broke into the world. Lying in a manger was Emmanuel, God with us. Not for one person, not just for royalty, but for all people. The inclusive nature of God was revealed right away, even in the presence of the shepherds, because the shepherds were probably Gentiles. It says in there they were living in the fields. Were they homeless? But they were the ones that the angels came and announced to, which to me is an indication of the inclusive nature of God. I came for all people, and no one would be excluded. About 3 years ago, I was in Lubbock, Texas. Nice place. Everybody ever been there? Yeah. It's an interesting place. The one thing I observed about it when I went to Starbucks there, I go to Starbucks in California and things, and everybody's on their iPads and iPhones and everything. In Lubbock, they were all studying their Bible. I thought I was in the wrong place. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Anyway, so I was there around Christmas doing some work with the church in Lubbock, and a couple of the people from the church decided to take me out on a little tour. And one of the things we went to see was a manger display. Yeah. The Church of the Latter-day Saints, they had over 1,000 manger scenes. Made out of every kind of thing you could imagine. Pipe cleaners, shells, rocks, you name it. I saw every kind of manger scene you could ever imagine. But what was really interesting about it was that as I looked at the ones from the different countries, they all resembled the baby in the manger all resembled people of their culture. So for the Middle Eastern, it was different. For the Pan-Asian area, it was very different. And at first I didn't know quite what to think of that. I said, I'm not sure that's right. But the more I thought about it, the more I said, yes. And Jesus would have loved that. Because I'm here for all people. It doesn't matter. And we all relate to Jesus in our own way, through our own culture and our own lens. And so to me, at the end of that, it was just one of the most beautiful things I have seen, and just an incredible representation of the love of God for all people. Now, it did take a while to get through 1,000 manger scenes, let me tell you that. I'd seen enough for a while. But anyway, it was really fascinating. So it's just no wonder. It's a wonder in all of the different ways that God shows up in unexpected ways, in unexpected places. Have you ever had God show up in an unexpected way, in an unexpected place in your life? So I wonder what it would be like for us to choose to make this Advent season. And oftentimes Advent has been called a season of preparation, right? Preparing to receive Christ's child. I just wonder what it would be like for us instead to use it as a season where we bear witness. to the unexpected ways in which God shows up in our lives. It seems to me that would be a more relevant way to carry out and to live out this Advent season. Perhaps our calling to enjoy and celebrate this gift of God, Emmanuel, with us is simply to bear witness by sharing the love of God with others in unexpected ways and unexpected places. Several years ago, I was the executive pastor at MCC Toronto. I spent a year in Canada. Great health care. We'll leave it at that. And I was going to the YMCA. It was just down the street from where I lived. Yeah, we could all do that. That's all right. So anyway, I was going, they had stairs that went down to the gym. And there was this guy down at the end of the stairs, and he had all of these bags. He was screaming. Words that I will not say in this section. And, you know, Canadians are rather reserved. You know, the most feared job in Canada is the Walmart greeter. We'll let that one sink in. Okay. So, this guy's at the bottom of the stairs, he's screaming all these obscenities and all these things, and everybody's just going like this and trying to walk down the stairs by him, right? And he looks up at me and he points at me and says, "Help me." And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is he going to do to me? You know, what is going to happen? I said, I took a deep breath. I walked down the stairs. He said, "Help me with my bags." I said, okay. I'm waiting for another outburst at any moment directed at me, right? So I carry his bags up to the top of the steps, still waiting for that outburst, and he turns and he says to me, "Merry Christmas." God shows up in unexpected places and unexpected ways. I believe that when this happens, we are experiencing what I would call a holy disruption. A holy disruption. Isn't that really what the manger represented? I mean, how can you have a baby without disruption in your life? Right? And if we have a relationship with this baby, we have a relationship with the Christ child, and it's not disrupted our lives in some way, what does that say about our relationship? Huh? There's many different ways in which we are invited to share God's love in those unexpected places and those unexpected times, but it disrupts our daily life when it happens. But we have to be willing and be open to those moments. Amen? This Chris was telling me about his neighbor who was having serious problems with their cat. His cat was gravely ill. And he walked out and he saw them and they were crying, they were upset. And so Chris stopped and he was on his way to work. But he stopped and he prayed with them. And he comforted them. Holy disruption. Huh? Holy disruption. The other day at the gym down the street at LA Fitness, I looked over, and this is the last place I expected to see him. Here was the guy who cleans the place with two of the members holding hands and praying. I don't think they were praying for bigger biceps. But you never know. But you know what? He stopped what he was doing. And it was a holy disruption. How many opportunities will come our way in the coming weeks and months to engage ourselves in those moments of holy disruption? Will we be willing to share the love of God in those unexpected places and in those unexpected ways? I think through our bearing witness to God's love in those times, we in turn will create wonder in others. A wonder that reminds others of the goodwill and generosity that are really the hallmarks of this season. Last story. As I was looking for mangers on the internet, an ad came up for something called a giving manger. $39.95. $39.95. And the idea behind this giving manger was that you take the straw that was to go in the manger, and they were actually straws, little straws, and they gave it to their kids and the family members, and every time they did an act of kindness, maybe even in an unexpected way, at an unexpected time, they put another straw in the manger. So that was the giving manger. Now, folks, we don't have to spend $39.95. We don't have to do that. But I imagine with this congregation and the hearts you have and the compassion you have, that this manger here would be overflowing with straw. There'd be enough for a hayride together. Yes, it would. So let's open ourselves up to those holy disruptions throughout this season and be an unexpected blessing and bring unexpected joy to other people's lives. And let's go out together and make the world a little bit more wonderful. Amen.